Good morning. I'm Janie Parrish with the Wadsworth Area Chamber of Commerce, and we are zooming in across the square to the Wadsworth Public Library with our very famous, and I mean very famous director, Daniel Slife. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Janie. I don't know about famous, but definitely very directorly director. I'll say that.
Okay. Well, the reason that we wanted to ask Daniel to talk with us on a Zoom into Business is we want to learn about the summer reading program, because I know both of my grandsons had participated and love it. So tell us about the summer reading program, Daniel.
Yep. Thank you for the opportunity. It's really the summer reading program is such a foundation for everything that we do, and in the spirit of it, and what we're trying to do for the community, and what that means for a family. But I'll kind of take a broader lens and just say that it also has a lot to do with business and people succeeding and whatever they do in life, whether that's academically or professionally. That reading as a habit is just proven time and time again, study after study. I know for those who read my quarterly program guide messages that I've been, beating that drum for some time, but it can't be understated. So much happens when you read, and when not only the critical thinking skills that you develop, but also the connections and the ability to make connections. That is the creative part of becoming an adult and becoming a reader over time, that makes you fruitful in those other things in life. And what could be more important than the language that differentiates us fundamentally from every other living creature on this planet. And so reading is just so important, and summer reading is about trying to create that culture of joy and wonder in reading. Not reading as a chore, but getting beyond those struggling early moments when, before we recorded, we talked about how my son was struggling to learn to read. And then it was like one day a light bulb went on at the beginning of second grade, and he started reading the quotations and reading with intonation, where, it gets beyond the technique and into the art of reading. And reading is really an art form that is available to all of us, that shapes us and helps us to find our own individuality. And so with summer reading, that's the spirit of it, is exploration and curiosity. Every year we do it. Every library does it. And here in Wadsworth, we have a really robust program. The last time that we checked, we had looked at our peer group in the state, and then just libraries throughout the state who report on their summer reading statistics every year. And in the per capita measure of our participation, we were up in the 10th percentile in the state for how many families show up and how much reading they do. And so this is that culture is a really thriving aspect of our community, and you can see that reflected in the strength of support and the quality of our schools, as well as the support of the library and other institutions in the community. And so we take it really seriously, and we know that it's the founding kind of cornerstone of what we do here in our mission, because our job is to cultivate lifelong readers, because lifelong readers are succeeders, and that success translates into every aspect of life, from business to academics to emotional intelligence and interpersonal relationships. Reading is such a powerful fertilizer of quality of life in a community. And so we start with the little ones, and we have a program that breaks out into multiple age groups, and everybody can participate. But really the core focus is on making sure that those kids who have worked so hard during the school year, no matter what age they are, don't lose that muscle. Developing that reading muscle, especially in those young years when your brain is still growing exponentially. They say that the mind is not structurally done developing until the early 20s, as late as 21 or 22, that the major structures are still being formed. And so it's easy for a child who works very hard during the school year and even teenagers, to lose some of that tone in that mental muscle over the summer. And so the spirit of it is really about getting quickly beyond that struggling phase of reading into the enjoyment of the art of reading, so that when it's time to keep on doing it over the summer, it comes naturally and easily. It helps parents as a platform to incorporate and figure out how to make that ritual part of their lives with their children. And some families have that from intergenerationally just doing that work. And sometimes we have parents who come who are the ones who are trying to break the cycle of too much TV time and not enough reading. And so it offers a continuation of a tradition and also the opportunity for people to reestablish that. And that's really the core purpose behind it and the spirit of it. And then every year we do a different kind of theme that we use to kind of pull things together and keep it coherent. And this year we are traveling around the world. After being so locked down where we are, we're going to be traveling with our imaginations around the world. We've got programs set up that I'll talk about a little bit later to get kids thinking about other places, other people, other cultures, other things to see. The world is wide, and you know, your mind, if you can't go there physically, you can grasp it with your mind. And so that's where we're going this year. And throughout the process, you report on the number of minutes and books you've read, depending on what age group you're in. And we've got incentives and prizes that the kids love to come and get. You know, come here as a ritual with the family, to return your books, to pick up new books, to check in. That was one of the things that was really lost last year by necessity. At first, was that when the program began, you couldn't come in the building yet. We were still on curbside at first. We had a really great app for phones, and which you could access through the web as well, that allowed people to register and clock their time and their books. But we heard from a lot of patrons that they'd really like to be here. And so people really like the experience of coming in, getting their books, talking to the librarians, checking in their hours, getting their prizes. And so that's another part of it. And then kind of the icing on the cake is the programming. Prior to COVID, we had a lot of performers we would bring in. We had very large programs in our combined meeting rooms. Often we would actually lean on our partners at Sacred Heart and at the Wadsworth City Schools to use the gym at Sacred Heart, or even the OJ Work Center across the street and other facilities when we had really big crowds. Because we could sometimes have 200 people come to some of these bigger programs. And so things got scaled back. This year, we're working our way back into it. And I know one of the questions you had given me in advance was what was unique about it. And I think the really unique thing this year is that it's a reopening. Since 2001, have had a really nice courtyard out here on the northeast side of the building that we have not really utilized that well. And so now is going to be a time to start incorporating that more into what we do moving forward this summer. And for summer reading, we're going to be doing our programming out here.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll have a program every week throughout the season for the kids. And we'll be looking at we've already have several sessions of each program planned so that we can kind of control the volume, because we are going to still keep it outside, even though the orders have changed subsequent to our planning. But we'll be ready to respond if we get an exceptional number of registrants. We'll figure out a way to make it all work. But this will be the first return of programs for our families who we've seen them browsing, but we haven't seen them all together. So this will be a real homecoming for our team and for the community and those who have missed out on that library time. And in addition to that, we are also going to be out in the parks. We are doing pop-up libraries in all of the city's parks throughout the summer months. We'll have a schedule posted for that on our website shortly. And you'll be able to check in with your summer reading minutes there at the park, or borrow books from a small circulating library, register for a card if you don't have one. So we'll be live and serving patrons in the parks throughout the summer. Whatever we can do to make it an option for people who would rather not be inside a building right now, and those who are comfortable kind of returning back to normal. We're going to try to straddle both of those worlds, and that goes for summer reading and library service in general.
Oh, I love all of that. Yeah, thank you for doing this, for you and your team for doing this. And I wanted to ask, so people need to register their child,
That's right.
okay, and they can do that on your website?
Yeah, if you just go to wadsworthlibrary.com, we have got a couple places for you to click on the very front page where you'll see summer reading registration. And that will take you into a kind of breakdown of the different ages. You'll see the different age groups. And, you know, on that page, we have Read to Me, which is birth to age 2. We have the Summer Reading Club for ages 3 to grade 6. So that's a pretty wide expanse, but that's the meat of the program. That's where most of the children and families participate. Before COVID, we had over 1,000. I can't remember the exact number of folks. I should have pulled that, but thousands of people, I think it was over 1,400
Wow.
register for the program. And that's the number that makes us up in that 10th percentile per capita in the state. Just a lot of people come out for the program. And then it starts to taper off as library service generally does. Summer reading is a microcosm. Teen Summer Reading Club, we get fewer, we get a couple hundred sometimes less than 100. That's pretty typical of how many teens come to the library. It's a perennial challenge for libraries. Libraries have talked about so many different ways to bring teens in, and nothing is ever consistently stuck. So that's always a challenge for us, but we tweak it and we try to think of new ways to reach out to the teens. And we've had a really great partnership with the Wadsworth City Schools. Prior to the pandemic, we had started doing pop-up libraries at the high school and middle school, where we were not only checking out materials and helping kids with their accounts, we coupled that with a transition where we would do direct delivery of books to students at the schools. And so if you were a student at the middle or high school or central intermediate, you could click that you wanted your books to come to the library and we deliver them to you in your classroom. And so that's something, as the schools are looking at returning circulation of their books, that we'll look to be talking to the schools about when we might be able to reestablish that. And then above the teenage years, it's wide open for adults. Anybody who is not in high school is welcome to participate. It's a different kind of program just because the volume of folks who participate is significantly lower. But this year we have a raffle for those who complete. We are raffling off an Adirondack chair, a nice kind of composite Adirondack chair. So good summertime gift for the winner there.
It's a perfect summertime gift.
Absolutely.
Daniel, I can't thank you enough for pulling all of this together with your team. And that is absolutely awesome. And what you're giving to everyone is a gift that never stops giving.
Well, it's our pleasure. We are so happy to be able to do this again. We're grateful for the community support, which is what makes all of this stuff possible in the first place. So we're just happy to be opening the doors back up, and folks can look for an announcement within the next week. Well, hopefully by the end of this week. We're finalizing how we're going to be adapting to the June 2nd rescinding of the health orders. So finalizing that plan now, but there should be more information forthcoming shortly.
Okay, well, thank you, Daniel, and we'll see you at the library.
Thank you, Janie. Take care.